This is Diamond D with where I'm giving you some love advice, some happiness advice, some everyday good advice to make your day a little more loving. This is Diamond D with Love and Happiness, where I'm giving you some love advice, some happiness advice, some everyday good advice to make your day a little more loving. Our guest today is Jamilah McClain. Miss McClain is a board certified licensed clinical social worker in Raleigh, North Carolina. She graduated from North Carolina State University with a bachelor's degree in social work and earned her master's of arts degree in social work from the University of Georgia. Ms. McClain has over 15 years of experience providing psychotherapy to children, adolescents, and adults through individual and group sessions. Her personal motto is that if you are going to make a change, operate from a new belief that says life happens not to me, but for me. Once that happens, your bright future is closer than you think. Thank you, Ms. McClain, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So tell me about this motto that you have.
Yeah, I always like to share with my clients, like, if you look at it from the perspective of, life happens, it's happening for me, not to me. It's kind of like, then what's the purpose? Like, what is the purpose? Even when in our darkest days, it feels like, the weight is on our shoulders, but what is the purpose of it? Why am I going through this right now? What am I searching for? And when you identify that, then you know that this is happening. It's happening for me so I can get to a different place in life. So that's why I just like to tell people, sometimes it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, but it's happening for you. It's happening for a reason. It's happening to uplift you. It's happening, to get you to another place in your life where you need to be. So if you start viewing it from those lenses, then maybe it will seem a little bit more manageable, because at that point you're searching for something versus sitting in it and just like, this happened to me. No, it's happening for you to get somewhere. So that's why I like to encourage my clients to think of it from that perspective versus another perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. It sounds like some type of, positive versus a negative outlook. Do you see that correlation in that motto?
Absolutely. And it's just all in, how you speak it, how you say it, and how you think it. And that's a lot of things with regards to just mental health, is how we process stuff and how we end up speaking things and what we hear. If we're in a negative space, everything we're going to probably hear is going to be negative, and it might not be. It's just I'm sitting in a low place right now. So everything that comes at me, it sounds like a repetitive, ongoing cycle of, just despair thinking. And that's not the case. So what we try to do is analyze the words that you are bringing in and digesting, because that, is half the battle. If you can kind of, separate the negative from the positive, and, the battle is halfway won, because you're able to say, basically, depression, not today. You're not going to, get me going down this rabbit hole today, because I'm aware of what's being said to me. I'm aware of what I'm feeding myself today. And I'm going to take control of that. And that's just it. It's like you're very consciously aware of what you're doing versus letting your unconscious mind kind of bring in those negative words and energies that we don't need in our space.
Let's talk about some of the positive things that you're doing in the community. I know you recently presented on mental health awareness issues. Talk to me a little bit about that presentation and the event.
Absolutely. So for Black History Month, I was asked to present at the Museum of History here in Raleigh for their African American culture celebration. And that was just an awesome experience, because I was able to, of course, it was virtual because due to COVID, everything is virtual now. But it was just an awesome opportunity to bring awareness. And that's just the topic that's pretty much my platform right now, just bringing awareness to mental health in the African American community. Especially like since COVID, it's just been so much. And with, the George Floyd and just, all the police brutality on African Americans, it's a lot. And we took in a lot in 2020. So, I just want to let our community know it's okay not to be okay. We have suffered a lot from 1619 when our ancestors got here to present. We have suffered a lot. And at some point, it's, our cup is going to overflow. So that has just been my goal with my presentations. I had a chance to present for Biogen, is a company here, world-known company, pharmaceutical company. And I was able to do a presentation for their African-American, for African-American history, well, for Black History Month. I was able to do a presentation for them as well with the same message as well. And it's just been an overwhelming and great response because there are so many people you might think people know, but they don't. And the questions that they have are great. There's no dumb question with regards to something that you don't know. So you can, just having the platform to let people know it's okay not to be okay, especially African Americans, because we aren't automatically programmed to seek help. We're not automatically programmed just to say, I'm gonna call a therapist today, because that has not been generationally taught to us. We have been generationally taught to not say anything, to keep it within the family, take it to the church, just not let everybody know your business. And as a result, that is what we call that intergenerational trauma. It's that trauma where there's just unconsciously you're passing messages of silence along to generation after generation after generation after generation. So me, in my family, it's just kind of like, well, I have this problem going on, but my mom didn't say anything about it when, it happened to her, or my dad, or da-da-da-da-da. So I'm looking at them as models of what I'm supposed to do. So to sit in a therapist's chair, or even to think about, therapy is very icky for some people, because it's like I'm betraying my family, I'm betraying them, that I'm not supposed to say anything. But the question is, why not? Why not now? If you are aware that this tool is out there, if you're aware that there are a lot of clinicians of color out here, if you feel more comfortable talking about your issues and concerns with someone of color, there are a number of expert African-American clinicians out here that people don't know. They don't know. So just to put a face in front of an audience like we're doing today, and what I did for my presentations, is half the battle, because it's allowing people to see like, oh, she's a therapist, like she's down to earth, she's right. And that's what it is. It's just the opportunity to sit down with someone in a non-judgmental setting, and you can just unpack all your stuff, even if you don't know if you have stuff. Some people come to me and say, I don't know if I got something, but I know it just don't feel right. Come on in. Come on. Let's schedule an appointment. And it just feels good for them just to get it off their chest, because they have not been given the permission or okay, to do it. So that's just been the focus of the presentations that I've had. And again, it's been a great and overwhelming response. And I hope the same for your viewers today. When they're hearing this, they're able to say like, you know what, I might need to just call somebody to see if, just to talk to somebody about this, or, just to start the conversation. And if anything, just to say, it's okay not to be okay. That right there is a weight lifted off of so many people's shoulders, because they have not been given the permission to say it's okay not to be okay, because we're so supposed to be just strong super women and supermen, and they're not real. they're not real. So we wear these capes every day thinking we're supposed to save the world, but that's not possible.
So that's not reality.
Right. We're trying to do the impossible every day. And as a result, we're doing more damage to ourselves.
So let's talk a little bit about the intergenerational trauma, and how a person cannot allow their trauma, their addiction, their baggage to become their identity.
Absolutely. I think it's all about being aware of it. And it starts with just saying like, this is a problem. Like, this is a problem in our family. We don't talk about things. We just move on as if something didn't happen. I had a client earlier this week who was just when she was talking about her issues that she has, she was also using her family as the reason why she did it. Well, my mom, she's had, dysfunctional relationships all her life. So that's why I'm doing this and da, 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 da. It rolls off so easily. And so I had to pause her and I said, did you hear what you just said? She was like, what? And she didn't even realize like, oh, yeah, that is a problem. Like that's where part of the problem started, is just that you've seen this, when you were growing up, and it was like a dysfunctional relationship became a norm. Like my mom figured out how to navigate it. So it probably isn't that bad because my mom is still standing and she's still good. She didn't talk to anybody about it. So now I'm going through it, but now I'm going through it and I'm feeling things that my mom never told me that she felt because she was appearing that she was just fine, but her mom wasn't fine. Her mom just didn't know how to talk about her stuff that she was going on in her dysfunctional relationships. So as a result, now her daughter, who's doing the same thing, is feeling stuff, but she said, I need to talk to someone about it. And because she didn't know what to do with the stuff that she was feeling, and it was causing it was spreading and bleeding out in other areas of her life. And that's what intergenerational trauma can do, because when you keep it in, it's going to come out in some ways. And it typically comes out in relationships. It comes out and it can come out in your job. It can come out with your family. And so it just spills. It's like a virus, and you can't see it. You cannot see it. It's just happening because it's your responses to things. You've learned how to respond to certain things. And a lot of people in our community have learned to respond to trauma very, very well in some people's eyes. So we can mask it very well. So we're walking around smiling all day, but on the inside, it's a bucket full of trauma. And if you touch me the wrong way or look at me the wrong way, one day when that cup is like at that point of tipping over, then you're going to get all my stuff. And that's what happens in relationships. You're just going to get everything. And the spouse is sitting there like, well, what? All I did was say, can you turn the channel? And like, but you just asked me to do everything all the time. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, whoa. And it has nothing to do with that person. It has to do with everything I chose not to talk about over the years, and things that I was exposed to when I was growing up, and all of that stuff just came to head and just poured out into my marriage. And now I'm sitting in marriage counseling because my husband doesn't understand my snappiness and the way I communicate now in our marriage, because it wasn't like that at the beginning, because I was wearing my mask very well, just doing what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, that intergenerational trauma it runs deep. And like I said, when our ancestors arrived in 1619, we came here as property. We came here with no, like, any type of feeling you might have. I dare you to say something about it, because if you do, you're going to get lynched. I'm going to separate you from your children. I'm going to rape you when I want to. So we were forced to be silent then. I couldn't say anything. We had some heroes back then. We had a lot of heroes, who just left and said, I can't do this anymore. I would just die just trying to get my freedom. But there were a lot of people who didn't do that. There were a lot of people who saw their relatives hung from trees when they walked out of their homes to go work for the slave master. That's very traumatic. And I can't talk about how I feel, because if so, I might be that relative that's hanging on the tree. So they had to learn to be silent to protect themselves. What are we being silent for? What are we being silent for? We don't have those same consequences that they had back then, our ancestors had back then. And I tell you what, if our ancestors had the ability to sit down and talk to a therapist, I'm pretty sure, they would. They didn't have that opportunity. And this strong and this superhero, superwoman, superman complex that we have, like we can take it, we can take the pain. No, our ancestors had to do it. They did. They had to endure it because our slave masters looked at us as property. So they're tough, they're durable, they can do anything. We were experimented on. poison laid on, laboratory tables, cut open, and then sewed back up with nothing. And you get up and go like we're lab rats. Mm-hmm. So we were forced to be strong. So yeah, we have strength in our lineage, and we can endure a lot, but we don't have to endure as much as our ancestors did because we have support. We have the ability to talk about things now. And I think if that message just gets out more, you'll understand that intergenerational trauma thing and say, I can stop it. You can stop it. You really can. You just got to talk about it.
Let's talk about, you mentioned, 400 years ago, our ancestors had to be silent for survival. Today, we don't have to be silent for survival, but I find that there's some people who are battling mental illness try to use a coping device with substance abuse. Can you elaborate on how substance abuse is or may not be similar to mental health illness, and just describe situations where you see substance abuse is running parallel with mental health illness?
Absolutely. So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about those diagnoses that come along with it. So you're talking about depression, anxiety, PTSD, schizophrenia, and then you have substance abuse diagnoses as well that fall under that umbrella. But typically we turn to, and that is one of the outcomes of intergenerational trauma as well, is substance abuse. People engage in substances to numb their feelings. They see it in their lineage, like dad drank, mom might have drank, might have used drugs, to help heal the pain. But that's something that was not communicated to the child. They just saw it in the home, because we don't talk about our feelings. So I'm not going to say, dear, I'm drinking, all this alcohol, or engaging in, crack cocaine, whatever, drug of choice you have. I'm doing this because I'm hurt. I'm doing this because, I don't want to live, anymore. And I'm just trying to get through the day for you. They're not sitting down with their children saying that. So the kids are just seeing the substance use. And so when they start, life and they start engaging in traumatic events, then what's going to be the automatic response? Typically what I saw my family members do. And so I'm going to try it. And if it makes me feel better than what I've been feeling, then I'm going to keep doing it, because it is just something that, I'm able to smile for the first time. I'm able to laugh for the first time and actually feel good. And so that's pretty much how that cycle typically starts. It's because I'm trying to self-medicate. I'm trying to make myself feel better because I don't know of any other options at this point. Sometimes it just starts off as recreational, like I'm going out hanging with friends and, going to have a couple of drinks here or there. And then before we know it, it's, an ongoing thing where, I have to have it to function. And that's when we talk about, that's when it becomes a substance abuse issue, is because I have to engage in this in order to go. I have to engage in this in order to, sit in this space with my children. I have to engage in this in order to go to work today, versus how it started. I'm just having a glass here, or, recreational, smoking, whatever, the drug of choice is, it becomes a habit. And, addiction isn't just substance use. Addiction is as well, sex. Addiction is gambling. Addiction is, it's so many layers to eating. It's just so many layers. And then we look at it and say, I have to do this to function today. That's the issue. You have a substance abuse issue. And so if you want to get help for it, then you go and seek support from someone who specializes in substance abuse.
How do you help a family member who has a substance abuse issue that maybe don't want to get the support or help they need? How do you stage an intervention? How can you, watch this person who is down a path of self-destruction and try to help them to step backwards from that path of destruction and seek help?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Just because we all know the cardinal rule, like you have to want help in order to be helped. Some people aren't ready. And I have worked with a number of clients who, after the first month, I am very, transparent with my clients, because I need for them to know where they are. And I'll let them know, like, you're not ready, because in sessions, they're just defending their actions, defending. And it's like a block to any and everything I have to say. And so, you're bringing that into a session, but even before someone, speaking addiction specifically, before you even get to a session, you have to get to that, make sure that person, can get into a session. So convincing them that they have a problem is tough. And I've had that in my family. And, it took years. We sat down, talked with them, and it was just like, I'm fine. I'll stop doing this then. I'm fine. You go to the threats of, you can't stay here anymore. Okay, I'll stop. And they just get better at hiding their addiction. And that's all it is. I'm just going to hide it from you better. I can stop it for, a day or two, and I feel so much better. Thank you so much, and then all of a sudden the stuff that I have been numbing comes up. I don't know how to deal with this stuff because nobody said, let's go to therapy or let's talk to it. Or I'm fearful of telling someone I don't know about my feelings. So I'm just going to go down the street or wherever I have to go to engage in something to numb my pain and come back to the house or go back where I have to go. So that person just has to be ready. They have to be ready. And sometimes in the addiction world, you're here, you got to hit your rock bottom. And, some people have to go there in order to realize, like, it's time. It is time for me to make a change because I am affecting more people than just myself. Addiction doesn't just affect, as we know, the person that is using. Addiction spreads amongst the ones that love you the most. Like I said, I've experienced within my family, and it's hard to see someone that you love and care for so much hurting, loved ones in your family, and you go through a range of emotions. And that's why they have like the Al-Anon groups, the groups that support families who have family members who struggle with addiction, because that's just hard, because it's a lot of things that you go through because you love this person so much and you want what's best for them, but they're not able to receive that right now. And it's hard to let go because that's what you're told a lot. You have to let go of that person right now and let them figure it out. I know it's hard. It's hard for a mother to do that for her children. It's hard, for a niece to do that, to see an aunt or a relative that you have to just say, I can't help you anymore. I can't enable this. I can't keep doing what I've been doing because it's hurting you and not helping you. So to step back and step away from it, family members need support too. So those family members sit in therapy chairs and they talk to therapists as well, because they are doing something that hurts and they are grieving a loss. I'm grieving the fact that, I have to detach from my loved one and possibly see them hit rock bottom while I stand by. That's hard because I'm trusting that you will heal from this if I do that, but I don't know for sure. It's just, what I have to try to do at this point to get you the help that you need.
Let's talk a little bit about different options when it comes to healing. I'm reminded of a particular biblical verse where there was a king in the Old Testament. I believe it was King Saul. And the Bible says that he was traumatized with demons. And sometimes they used to refer to mental illness back in the day, and correct me if I'm wrong, as being some type of mental illness or being a demon or something. But this was like years, 300, 400 years ago. And that's how it's described in the Bible. But nonetheless, he was the king. and he was traumatized by these demons. And he would have a sense of therapy where he would call another individual by the name of David to play a harp. And when David played the harp, it calmed him. Talk a little bit about musical therapy and how that correlates to mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of therapists use different strategies and interventions to treat their clients. It's no one size fits all kind of model for therapy and treatment. One intervention might work for one person. You have the same issue, and one intervention could work for one person, and the other person you're doing another type of intervention just because of what they can receive. So when you talk about using music, there are a number of clinicians who do that. They utilize it to help calm a client, to self-soothe, teaching clients how to self-soothe. I'm listening to, the lyrics in music. I was in one training some years ago, and it was a clinician that worked with, it was veterans. So she was working with veterans with regards to PTSD. And she used like music, and one of the interventions was follow the notes in the song. So they're different, you got the singer, then you got, the piano playing, then you have all these other instruments. She was like, pick a instrument or a note and follow it to the end of the song. And basically she used that intervention because she wanted to help you understand that you can control your thought process, because so many times we feel like we're out of control of it and we don't know how to silence and things like that. So she's saying you can. So if you intentionally connect with the note and follow it throughout the end of the song, then you're likely to kind of see, what you were able to hear, kind of, clear things and kind of calm that restlessness of the thoughts down. And so she used that intervention to help support veterans. But again, it doesn't work for everybody. You have to trust the process, and you have to know music sometimes is triggers for people, because there was music going on in the background when, something traumatic happened to me. So right now I'm not ready to hear any notes, because if I do, it's going to take me back to that traumatic event. So I would not use, music in therapy for that client, because I don't want to re-traumatize someone in a session.
Very good. Ms. McClain, how can the viewers contact you?
Via my website, I have is True Colors. cc.com. You can reach me on my website, or you can connect with me via email at truecolors1@gmail.com. And I also have a Facebook page as well on it's True Colors Counseling and Consulting. So you can reach me on my Facebook page if you want to as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And to my viewers, let me leave you with this quote. Productivity is never an accident. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. Thank you for watching Love and Happiness with Diamond D, where I'm reminding you that God loves you